The trade deadline has come and gone, and MLB teams have filled the holes in their rosters. We're going to help you do the same thing with your teams. We've got waiver wire targets at every position coming up next.
It's about that time.
Stone on Sports.
How's it going, everybody? You are tuned in to Stoned on Sports Fantasy Baseball. My name is Matt. You can find me over on X at Pick His Ass Up. And right now I'm sitting here sweating like a whore in church. It is way too hot out. I do not approve of this. As always, got the awesome co-host Kyle here with me today. And yes, sir, it is Waiver Wire Tuesday. How's it going, buddy?
It's going great. Been a nice little weekend here. So how about you?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad.
Stuff.
Hanging in there.
Heck yeah. We are going to just go ahead and get her started. We'll start at catcher. Catcher's kind of been a crapshoot this fantasy season, but this Yankees catcher has caught fire and looks to be in an everyday role. Matt, tell us more about Austin Wells.
Look at that mustache.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if he draws power from that. That thing is that's a thing of beauty there. Just curious if anyone out there has been stuck in catcher purgatory like me. Maybe you're playing musical chairs at the position all season. Raise your hand if that's you. Look, I've been through 5 or 6 of them, and I picked up Austin Wells earlier this week, and I'm hoping this one sticks. This rookie has taken over the full-time role in the Bronx and has responded in a big way. Per some dickhead over on X, I didn't bother to verify any of this, but it sounded good, so we're going to roll with it. Since June 24th, Wells leads all catchers in WRC+, FWAR, WOBA, on-base percentage, slugging, walk rate, and OPS. That sounds pretty damn good.
Yeah.
He's also hitting over 300 with 6 home runs, driven in 15, scored 14 times, and a strikeout rate under 15% in that span. He's also spending quite a bit of time in the cleanup spot lately, too. That sounds like good news all the way around, right? All that's good enough to make him the number 8 catcher in that time frame. Coming into the week, he was hitting 241, 343, 415. That's good for a 759 OPS. He gone yard 8 times, driven in 25, chipped in another 10 doubles, and he's actually stole a base too, which is surprising for anybody at the catcher position not named JT Realmuto circa 5 years ago. He's showing excellent command of the strike zone, especially considering he's got just over 300 career MLB plate appearances. His strikeout rate is under 19%, and he's got a below average swinging strike rate to go with it. Now, his whiff rate is a little bit high at 26%, but he's got a well better than average 25.2% chase rate. That's helped him to a 13.2% walk rate that places him in the top 5% of the league. As I mentioned earlier, that walk rate has improved as the season has worn on. The same with his average. He's raised that 30 points so far this month. 30 points is a lot, but we're also talking about a dude with a 50 grade hit tool, so things were bound to get better. He's also got 55 grades in his game and raw power, so don't be surprised to see some more dingers from him as his comfort level improves and he continues to adjust to major league pitching. Looking at his contact numbers, he's pretty much league average, both overall and in the zone. He's also a little more aggressive than the average big leaguer with his swing rate, especially in the zone, where his 70.2% swing rate is about 5 points higher than league average. Quality of contact, same story. His 89.2 EV and 8.3% barrel rate are both a hair above league average, but his 36.9% hard hit rate places him in the bottom third. His weak contact rate is a little bit high too at 5.1%. That said, the short porch and right field at Yankee Stadium should help out this lefty bat in the home run department. His expected stats all look good. He's top third in expected batting average and expected slugging, and his 360 xWOBA is one of the better in the game. He's not one to hit the ball on the ground a lot. His ground ball rate's about 37.5%, but his fly ball rate is about 6 points higher than the league average at 29.3. He hits his fair share of line drives as well. And look, I'm happy to be the first one to shit on the Yankees at any given time, but we all know how good this lineup can be. And he's been, again, spending a good amount of time in the cleanup spot. It really sounds to me like he is an excellent option at a shallow and often volatile position.
Agreed. Great pickup.
This brand new Diamondbacks first baseman has a 7-game hit streak with 5 multi-hit games and is the number 1 first baseman over the past week. Kyle, why don't you talk to us about Josh Bell?
Yeah, that's that graphic is not a mistake. Traded to the Diamondbacks this afternoon. Good fit there. Christian Walker went out with an oblique, so much better team context for Josh Bell. Could possibly still bat, in the top half of the order. It's been mostly a down year for the 9-year veteran, producing only fantasy relevant numbers back in May. However, he's turned things around here in July, specifically since the All-Star break. And your information was old. He is currently on an 8-game hit streak with multi-hit efforts in 6 of those 8. And he's been the number 2 fantasy first baseman since the All-Star break. We returned from the All-Star break. Since then, he's slashing 342, 443, 763. If you don't math too good, that's an OPS over 1,200. It's pretty good. He is striking out below average and has had 7 walks with a double, 5 home runs, 10 ribbies, 6 runs scored while batting 3rd or 4th in the order for Miami. On the season, it's less impressive. 239, 305, 394 slash line. His OPS is just 1 tick under 700. The strikeout rate's above average, but could stand to walk a bit more as he is about 4% worse than his career mark. He's mostly a ground ball, fly ball hitter, sends balls mostly to the corner. His straight up rate, hits up the middle is far, far under league average. He's a pretty free swinger as well. Quarters of the pitches that come in the strike zone and swinging almost 11% more than MLB average at first pitches. As you might imagine, being that aggressive going to cause him to be less than stellar in the contact department overall, right? Looking at his percentile rankings on StatCast, I thought his power metrics would actually be a little bit better, more in the red or above average. They are not. His average exit velocity, barrel, hard hit rates are all just a bit below average. And that says something too, because he finished in the 60th percentile in all 3 of those metrics last season. However, since the All-Star break, his hard hit rate has ballooned at over 55%. It's been the 21st best rate since then as well. And his barrel rate is near 14% since the All-Star break. It's almost double his year-to-date rate. His expected stats, WOBA, batting average, slugging, they're all down over year over year. But his WOBA is up almost 200 points above league average since the break. His weighted runs created, he's at a 96, so he's still below average there through 101 games, 102 games. So he's still, like I said, slightly below average, but I think there's still time for him to turn it around with some of his what his numbers were last year. And it's really worth rostering while he's hot and on a better team.
He's also going to be in a much better hitter's park as well.
Yes. Yep. That is true. We're headed around to second base now. This Mets player has been among the best hitters in baseball over the past 10 games, seemingly morphing into a slugging sensation. Matt, tell everyone more about Jeff McNeil.
Well, if you look at his picture on Baseball Reference, the dude looks like a psycho. They did not do him any favors there. And this guy, look, he won a batting title 2 years ago out of nowhere. And over the past 2 weeks, he's been on a tear with an average pushing 350 and an 800 slug and half of his season home run total. He's coming in as the number 3 overall second baseman since July 15th. And look, he generally hits towards the back of the order, but he has moved up a few spots during this run. On the year, he's hitting 230 with a 284 on base and a 366 slug. That's good for a 650 OPS. Not amazing. 9 home runs, 18 doubles. He's driven in 33, scored 43, and stolen 5 bases. And if there's one thing to love about him, it's that he does not strike out. His 12.8% strikeout rate is the 4th best in baseball. His 7.6% swinging strike rate is outstanding, and he's holding a called plus swinging strike rate under 20%. And the dude's got a 15.5% whiff rate, which puts him in the top 7% of the league. You can get him to chase, though. His chase rate's sitting right around 29.5%. That puts him in the bottom half of the league. And you would think somebody with his skill set would walk a little bit more, but he's sitting at a 6.4% walk rate. It leaves a little bit to be desired. However, he is one of the best contact hitters in the game. His 86% overall contact rate is 13th best in baseball, and his 92.3% rate in the zone is 15th. And, while I was researching him, a question popped in my head. They make Viagra for bats? Because if so, he needs it because he's up there swinging a limp dick. He's got an exit velocity of just over 87 miles an hour that puts him in the bottom 20% of the league, a hard hit rate, a tick under 32%. That is in the bottom 15% of the league. And his 2.8% barrel rate is in the bottom 5%. His weak contact rate, not quite as bad, but still worse than average, coming in at a little over 4%. To compensate for that lack of power, he does do a good job of hitting the ball in the air and pulling it. And we can see from his spray chart that all of his home runs and all but 2 of his doubles have either been to center or to the pull side. Do not expect this power surge to continue, but the Mets continue to be one of the hottest offenses in the game. As long as that continues, I feel like I said continue like 7 times there. He should remain a key piece in helping to set the table. And, when we talk about these waiver wire targets, you'll hear us say it a lot, like just ride them while they're hot. And this dude, look, he should give you a halfway decent average. Like I said, he did win the batting title because of the lack of strikeouts. I like him a little bit better in points leagues than I do roto leagues.
Yeah. I think the companies Easton and Pfizer should get together and
Yeah,
try and get that going. And you heard it here first from Matt. So hopefully they give you some royalties, royalties.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice.
Buddy, I find it odd that we have shit on the Marlins offense all season, yet we're discussing, at the time I wrote this up, 2 of them, now it's just 1, as waiver wire targets this week.
Right.
This Marlins slugger is a number 2 third baseman since the break and looks exactly like you would expect someone named Jake Berger to look.
Yeah,
Kyle, talk about him.
Yeah, he's a plump boy. He's for sure a little stocky, it's good stuff. So
there we go.
It took Jake Berger half the season to start hitting like he did last year, but he's had kind of a rough season at the plate, but he is heating up a bit of late. He's got 13 total home runs on the season. 6 of them have came this month in July. As Matt mentioned, number 2 fantasy third baseman since the break. That's been 10 games. He's averaged a hit per game, including 3 doubles, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, and
oh, what the shit? Are you
frozen?
frozen?
He's slashing 247 slugging. I don't know. He is striking out 27% of the time, but his weighted runs created plus is at 190, the 31st best mark out of 190 hitters in that time period on the season. Like I said, he's been struggling, so his slash line's not as attractive. 233, 281, 399 slug, striking out almost 27% of the time, walking only 5.6% of the time. Both of those rates are in the bottom 18% worst of hitters. He does not have a stolen base on the year, but he still has a sprint speed. It's pretty fast in the 69th percentile. He'll still provide some value with that speed on the base paths, not as a, counting stats and stolen bases, but just his smartness on the base pass, legging out doubles, able to score from third when maybe another player, can't. So he's got an above average base running value score. He's got some impressive power numbers on Baseball Savant. His bat speed of 74.9 miles an hour is the 18th fastest rate in the majors among all qualified hitters, better than even Bryce Harper. He crushes the ball. His average exit velocity, barrel, hard hit rates, they're all in the 71st percentile or better. He does have a less than average contact rate. He mostly hits grounders, fly balls, pretty much all to the pull side and up the middle. I wish he would hit more line drives. He's almost 5% lower than league average, and he was much better last year at smacking line drives. I noticed also he pops up way too much. He had a major problem with it last year too, and I haven't really looked at any film, but I think it's possibly something in the mechanics, as his underrate and his launch angle do not reflect it. I think there's a good chance, considering all these power metrics, he's going to keep some of this pace up the rest of the year. Let's not forget, if you guys paid attention to last year, Sky absolutely blew up in the second half. Slugging went up over 300 points. OPS went over 400 points versus his first half stats in 2023. I prefer him a little bit more in deeper leagues if you need a corner infielder, but I can certainly understand rolling the dice on him in a standard league. If your squad needs a power boost, he's your guy, right? I know there's a lot of strikeouts too, but the homers, the average, the RBI production are more than enough to consider him a waiver wire option.
So asking,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
he didn't follow it. Who was the biggest trade in MLB, if any? Granted, I'm a little bit biased, but I got to say it's Jack Flaherty going to the damn Dodgers in exchange for some Cracker Jacks and a box of baseballs, essentially.
something.
Yeah, Detroit really screwed the pooch there.
They waited too long.
Yeah, he did. That's what it is. And they did the same thing last year with Erod. But other than that, there weren't really a whole lot of big names moved. Eloy Jimenez, but he's been, nothing but hype, really, to this point in his career. And that's just kind of a salary dump.
Fetty was a nice move. He's not a big game, but that's a nice move. He's been pitching very, very well this year. And the Baltimore Orioles bulked up on some talent as well. It was an interesting trade down there. There was a fury there the last 15 minutes, that's for sure. But that is for sure. So we're headed around the diamond some more here. If you've been under a rock, you might have missed this guy's name. No one in baseball has been hotter than this Giants player the last few days. The power and speed combo he offers fantasy has just ballooned his ownership rate. Matt, is there still time to grab Tyler Fitzgerald?
Maybe. I mean, look, this dude is much higher owned than what we would normally cover, but we just can't ignore what he's done. Raking would be an understatement. Yeah. He's a number one shortstop since the All-Star break, batting over 400 with an OPS of 1557. Funnily enough, that's only the second best OPS among shortstops to Bobby Witt's 1580. That dude has just been on a tear as well. He's also got 10 extra base hits, including 7 home runs in 10 games. We're talking the hottest of hot streaks. And his season-long numbers don't really look that bad either. He's slashing 319, 383, 638. That gives him an OPS of 1021. He's gone yard 9 times, 6 doubles, 2 triples. He's driven in 19, scored 25, and stolen 7 bases. Now, look, if you look at this dude's prospect profile, he looks like a glove-first shortstop, 35 grade hit tool, 40 game power, 45 raw power. He does have 99th percentile sprint speed, though, according to StatCast, so take that for what you will. Strikeout rate is high, sitting at just under 30%. He's been in that range throughout his time in the minors. There's a lot of swing and miss in his bat, too, with a whiff rate at 30% and a swinging strike rate pushing 13%. It's not because he has a bad eye at the plate, though, because his chase rate is under 20% and he will draw a walk. The issue lies with his actual bat-to-ball skill. He's making contact just over 71% of the time, and he's been in the low to mid-70s, both at AAA and during his couple stints in the show. I'd argue, though, that his zone contact rate is even worse at 78.6, damn near 10 points below league average. It's going to be hard to sustain any kind of success with those contact rates. Quality of contact, a little mixed. He's sporting an EV under 88. His hard hit rate is just over 34.5%. Both of those would be in the bottom third if he had enough plate appearances to be a qualified hitter. His weak contact is also a problem for him. Right now is right there is at 6.4%. His barrel rate, on the other hand, is a fantastic 11.5%, and that's helped out by a 45% sweet spot rate and a 19.5-degree average launch angle. Tyler's batted ball profile shows us he is a fly ball hitter that pulls the ball a lot, like 50% of the time, a lot. All but one of his home runs has been to the pull side of the field, aside from a dead center blast in Colorado. He's got a 33.3% ground ball rate. That's a full 11 points below the league average, but there's a lot to like with his 29.5% line drive rate, though. Being honest, look, this level of production is not sustainable for him, especially in the power department, but he's getting regular playing time. He steals some bases, and there is admittedly a little bit of pop in his bat. He's definitely worth adding and riding until he starts to fizzle out.
For sure. Yeah, he ain't staying hot forever.
So though his season-long numbers don't look the greatest, this Tigers rookie has shown an outstanding eye at the plate and some pop in his bat in the minors and is getting regular playing time at or near the top of the lineup. How can Justyn Henry-Malloy help our teams next week and going forward?
Yeah, he's a young guy, just 24 years of age, with just 141 Major League Baseball plate appearances under his belt. But he's had some bright spots here in his rookie season. He's been a fantasy outfielder, number 50, actually, since July 1st. That's pretty good. Matt, like mentioned, in the batting in the top third of the order. All-star outfielder Riley Green went on the IL, opening up more playing time for Malloy, I hope. Should get a lot more playing time. Since July 1st, some good, some ugly. There's been 18 games played out of 23 possible, slashing 250, 338, slugging 500. The strikeout rate is embarrassing. So he's only 3% roster, guys. So this is a very, deep league kind of desperation play. You need some pop, in your outfield. That strikeout rate, almost 34%. It's damn right embarrassing. Walk rate, though, is above average at almost 12%. For a young hitter who strikes out a ton, he just doesn't chase pitches out of the zone. His 17.3 rate is the 11th best among hitters with at least 100 plate appearances. It's a small sample size, I know, but that mark is even better than Juan Soto, someone who I would consider as one of the best at not swinging at crap out the zone. I can't stress how nice that is to see, with a young hitter like Malloy. Most young guys kind of struggle with chasing so much, and for him to have a leg up on that tells me that, he'll be able to capitalize on that patience and lower those ugly strikeout numbers as he progresses through his career, to get down from striking out one every at 4 bats versus what it is now, one every at 3 at bats. Is not good. He's all about pulling fly balls. His fly ball rate is is over 41% among those same hitters with 100 plate appearances. His rate, 5th highest in the league, and his 21-degree launch angle confirms it. I wish these fly balls just came with some more power. He does have 7 home runs on the year. He did hit 23 dongs last year. There you go, Kelsey, dongs last year in AAA, but his underlying metrics are less than appealing. His average exit velocity, his hard hit rates are both below average, and so is his bat speed. He doesn't even surpass 70 miles an hour. It's not good at all. He does a nice job, though, of barreling up some offerings. His rate's 4% higher than MLB average, but his solid contact percentage is a pitiful 2.7%. Something must be funny, far less than league average. His overall contact skills need some work, but so do many rookies with just 140 plate appearances, right? So if you're in a roto league with strikeouts and you can take a hit, he's a great add if you need a corner outfielder with some pop and who can get on base at a decent rate. Again, deep league special, folks.
Oh,
What popped off in the chat?
absolutely nothing. Our
Hitting the
minds are
sweet
in
spot is important if you want to be successful. It sure is. Kelsey, all right. Care to elaborate on your comment there? I love dongs. Good stuff. Might be a good t-shirt. I agree. We're going to talk about a couple pitchers. We got a couple guys left here. Actually, you know what? What do we got here?
I don't
James
know.
Coffey got a question.
Oh, shit. James is back. What's going on, brother?
What's going on in a week-to-week one team versus one team cat league? How long would you wait for players like Austin Riley and Julio Rodriguez to turn things around before the playoffs if they're mostly on my bench?
It's kind of a shitty position to be in, and you
Yeah.
never really want to fall for the sunk cost fallacy, right? You drafted these players high. I can't drop them. It's hard enough to bench them.
Right. Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is you got to wait because unless you, and I know you're in a smaller league there, James, but still, I have a hard time believing there is anybody available who is better than those two. And more so Austin Riley than Julio. He's got a track record of success. Now, this could end up being a down season for him. And I'm in the same boat, brother. I've got him in my home league, and I benched him from time to time, and he'll have a little bit of a hot streak. And I was shitty last week because another dude whose old lady spit out a crotch goblin, and he missed a couple games. And here I am taking goose eggs for half the week. Like, he needs to think about me and my team. Like, this shit is important.
He sure does. Money on the line. Jeez.
Right. We're talking dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah.
I have no idea if Julio's old lady is about to spit one out, but the fact remains there's not going to be anyone better. They could both turn it on at any given moment. You just got to ride it out with them, dude.
And to be honest, Julio was before he got hurt. He was just starting. He had a few games there strung together where he was showing some pop and what he normally does, and then got hurt. So, yeah, I agree. That's a wait for sure. All right, this Red Sox starting pitcher hasn't been the most consistent fantasy producer this year, but he remains a potential spot start option depending on the matchup. How can Brayan Bello help fantasy managers rest of the season?
That is a very good question. And I was surprised to learn very quietly, this cat's been the number 10 starting pitcher this month.
Yep.
And you've not heard shit about it, but
Mhm.
you heard it here. I don't know, third. He's had an excellent, he has an excellent matchup tomorrow at home against the Mariners, who strike out a ton. Then he's at Kansas City next week and lines up for 2 starts against Texas and Baltimore the week after that. So he may be an ad and hang on to for a couple weeks. Now, the season-long numbers, they've been a mixed bag. He's 10-5, which looks amazing. He's got a 5.27 ERA, opposite of amazing. His FIP is 3/4 of a run lower. XFIP is almost 2 runs lower, though. He's got a 1.4 whip, struck out 96, walked 36, given up 16 home runs across 19 starts. And look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. That whip is a little scary, but I think there's some bad luck involved there as well. Boston is mid-pack at best on defense with absolutely terrible range, and that leads to more hits allowed. And we can see that partially reflected in his 323 BABIP. And more importantly, he's got a strand rate under 70%. However, the dude is also allowing almost 1.5 home runs per 9. And guess what? Those are going to kill your strand rate faster than everything else because everybody comes home. His strikeout numbers are fine, but not huge. He's striking out almost 22% of batters, which is just a hair below average, with a K per 9 over 8.5. Both his swinging strike and whiff rates are well better than average, and his 29% called plus swinging strike rate is very solid. Walks, pretty much the same story. His walk rate is nice at just 7.8%, but he's walking over 3 per 9, and that's higher than what we want to see. And sometimes, I look at the rate and then I look at the ratio, per 9, and I wondered, like, how in the hell did we get here? But, math is not my thing. He's got a solid 29.5% chase rate as well. So he's capable of fooling batters from time to time. Given the number of hits that he allows, I thought his contact rates would be way higher than they are. Overall, he's allowing contact less than 75% of the time and less than 84% in the zone. But it all goes back to the defense behind him, and sometimes batters just hit him where they ain't. Quality of contact is okay, I guess. His EV of 88.8 is about average, 8.2% barrel rate, just a little bit worse than average, but his hard hit rate is muy shitty. I don't remember bad in Spanish. At 43%. He does induce quite a bit of weak contact, though. His 4.6% mark is pretty good. Batted ball let me start that again. Batted ball profile. This is where he really shines. His 50.8% ground ball rate ranks 10th among pitchers with 100 or more innings pitched this season. And that's actually down a couple points from last season's mark. He doesn't give up many fly balls, which is going to happen when over half of them are on the ground, under 19%. But that also gives us a home run to fly ball rate over 20% because of the number of dingers he's given up. His line drive rate is also pretty high, over 23%, and that helps to contribute to the higher BABIP as well. He's a good, not great mid-rotation option that you can feel comfortable running out there against all but the best offenses. And I absolutely love him against the Mariners tomorrow. That team strikes out so much. Pivetta just K'd 10 of them yesterday. So, yeah, run his ass out there. Kansas City is kind of shaky, but they can be beat. And then he's got the two-step coming up there in a couple weeks as well.
Okay. Good stuff. Like when I was researching for this and we were trying to pick guys, I was shocked how well he was doing. Just shocked. I hadn't heard a word, peep, nothing.
Yeah, not squat. So, there he is, number 10 pitcher. Who'd have thunk it? This Jays reliever is going to be taking over closing duties with Jimmy Garcia getting traded. Can Chad Green be a cheap source of saves for the last couple months of the season?
He definitely can. Number 10 relief pitcher in July in fantasy. You mentioned Garcia got traded. Romano's still on the IL till September if he's lucky. So right now, Chad Green is straight money, yo. And in July, 12 games, over 13 innings pitched. He's 2-1. He's got 5 saves, 1 hold. He hasn't blown a save. His ERA is under 2, and his whip is sub 1 whip, and he strikes out over 25% of guys. Just what you like for a closer. On the season, 31 games. He's over 32 innings pitched, 3-2, 7 saves. Still no blown saves on the year at all. He does have 7 holds, 1.67 ERA, and that whip is still under 1. In the full, interest of full disclosure here, Green has been getting exceptionally lucky. His FIP and his XFIP are both in the 4s, about 2 3/4 runs more than his ERA, and his BABIP is just 187. Matt, that's 100 freaking points below league average. Year to date, his strikeout rate is good at 23.1, walk rate 7.7. Both are above league average, but not by very much. His first pitch strike rate really helps him get ahead in the count as well, and 11% swinging strike rate sits just above MLB average too. As many closers are, he's just a 2-pitch guy, just a 4-seam fastball and a slider. That 4-seamer generates a batting average against of just 137 and a low slugging under 300. His slider, on the other hand, sometimes isn't sliding, okay? He offers or allows 515 slugging, does have a nice 30% whiff rate on that slider. Right after noticing that crappy slugging there against his slider, I immediately went and looked at his contact allowed outside of the strike zone. And just as I thought, it's way too damn high, almost 8% higher than MLB average. He does allow a shitload of hard contact. His hard hit rate of 48.8 among all pitchers who have faced at least 100 batters is 7th worst out of over 400 pitchers. His average exit velocity is under 93 miles an hour. It's the 2nd worst among those same 423 pitchers. Not good. Home run per 9 is a bit high at 1.34. He's allowed just 5 home runs in 31 innings, but that could be a problem with what I just mentioned, giving up all that hard contact and a very high fly ball rate and a 20-degree frickin' launch angle. So, I'll remind you of the fantasy baseball adage. Matt said it. I've said it. You've heard it before. Saves can be found on the wire. This is why we talk about guys like this, like Green. If you're hurting for saves, grabbing Green could pay dividends. Add him immediately. If you're in a fab league there, I'd get offered 20-30% of my budget at least to try and get him for some saves.
Damn, look at you balling out of control with them fab dollars.
Balling ain't my fab, so I'll tell you how to spend it. You spend it.
We got James back with another question. Maybe this was a high-risk mistake, but he traded Taj Bradley for Kyle Tucker. Any thoughts on whether he might return by September playoffs?
He's supposed to. This shin contusion has taken a long time.
Yeah, it is. And I'm actually in the same boat with you,
Same.
James. I've got Kyle Tucker sitting on IL waiting. And really that's all we can do. I don't necessarily know that I would view that as a mistake though. I Taj Bradley has been pitching great. There's no doubt about that. He's obviously better at home than he has been on the road. And we've talked about that a little bit on here as well. There ain't no way in hell he's going to pitch like that for the rest of the year. So really what both you and I are hoping for is that Kyle Tucker does come back, end of August, 1st of September, and gives us, I think we shouldn't hope for more than maybe a reasonable facsimile of what he was doing earlier in the season, because the dude was just on an absolutely torrid pace, right?
He was the only one hitting there.
Yeah, he was, and as good as he is, there ain't nobody keeping that shit up all season long. There's going to be some rust to knock off. He's going to need to go out on a rehab assignment and get his groove back
for sure.
So,
and you traded for him. You didn't draft him. You traded for him like a few
yes, I did.
Ago. So you've got.
I gave up some assets. If he doesn't come back, it was too damn much.
Yeah.
So, but no risk it, no biscuit.
Yep. I love it.
Kelsey says she's got bets and Yamama Moto sitting around doing nothing. And now with
I understand, Kelsey. I got bets too in my home league, and I'm itching to have him come back. And I'm not doing so hot, so it might not help me.
Well, and you can trade him to me because
I'll trade him to the most attractive offer.
I will present you with an offer.
I wouldn't want to be wrongly charged with collusion of any sort. So,
man, piss on that.
I'll accept all fair offers for a 24-hour period when I decide, and then we'll see what the return is.
Don't be a jabroni. Hook your best friend up.
This is not a redraft league, folks. Too. This is our home league that we have rookie drafts. We assign contracts to certain players and stuff. It's been going on for a while now, and it's a lot of fun. But I want to talk about the listener league really quick.
Why? Dubo whooped my ass.
Yeah, we pretty much suck, right? So that's a given.
No, but that's it. Look at the point totals, dude.
I know. I have the third. Our expected stats are much better than our actual. Matt and I have the third and fourth point total. I'm third, he's fourth, and we're in seventh and eighth, and it's just not fucking fair. So we're gonna whine and bitch about it because it's our podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But congratulations to everybody that's doing well. We got some first timers in here and some people that haven't played fantasy baseball in quite a while, and those teams are doing pretty well. So talking about Brandon and Dubo and Loudboy.
Yeah, see, and I don't know why I was pointing at the screen because nobody can see it but me.
Right.
But you look at like Loudboy with, I don't know, 813,000 moves. And we were talking about that the other day, and it got me thinking, like, fantasy sports is almost like dating, right? Because best way to guarantee you're not going to win is to do the same thing everybody else is doing. Right. Yep. And he clearly is not doing that.
No.
And it's the same way. You see like
he's at how many moves? Let me pull it back up.
578.
578 total moves this year Loudboy's done.
Right. Just it's like you see
his roster over 2 or 3 times a period.
Yeah. You see a cute chick in a bar or a restaurant or whatever, and it's like, all right, do you want to be the 8th dude that's walked up and told her she's hot, or do you want to be the first one who's walked up, made her laugh, and asked her name, right? And it's the same way, we're going to be talking about fantasy football. Do you want to draft the same way everybody else is doing it? That's a great way to guarantee you come in 6th. And guess what? If I can't win, I don't give a shit where I finish.
Yeah, I don't care about 6th.
Right.
Or 2nd. Really. Well, 2nd, you could usually still win some money. I'm usually happy, but yeah. So
but you guys,
Matt's giving dating advice. So I said we're all doomed. So I
make no guarantees as to the quality of that advice. I have a habit of putting my foot in my mouth, and you knew me back in the day, dude. Like, how many people like been karate chopped in the throat in Shenanigans parking lot because you said something dumb? So
Right. Before we get out of here, we'll do one more question from James. Any thoughts on Spencer Schwellenbach? Been pitching well again.
he has. I like the strikeout upside there with him being such a young and inexperienced dude. There's going to be some ups and downs there, but if you can catch him on a hot streak, or if you have the positional depth to maybe set him against some of the better offenses, the Phillies, the Dodgers, teams like that, and really work to capitalize on teams, especially those who just sold here at the deadline. I think that's the best way to maximize his return, but there's some good upside there with him for sure.
Yeah. And I think we both expect, and I'm sure the Braves do with the moves that they made, that their team has gotten better, and that can only help out Schwellenbach as well. So, all right, we're going to get out of here, guys. If you haven't, please consider liking and subscribing if you like this content. We'll return on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern for 2-star pitchers and streamers for the following week. We got our fantasy football channel going on. Where's it at there? Stone Down Sports Fantasy Football on YouTube. Our next stream, our running back fantasy preview, will be this Sunday, August 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're available on all the podcast platforms as well. All the info is available down below in the description. Have a great evening, everyone, and stay stoned.